Prism.
So what is prism? It means that a dimensional shape that has identical parallel ends and all flat faces. That's the definition of prism. So let's move on to the bases of the prism. So these are equal to polygon. The two of congruent polygons that are connected by the rectangular sides are called the bases of the prism. We usually classify prism by the shape of their bases. For example, to this photo. So next is what is lateral edges and lateral faces. So let's see what are the differences between these two lateral. Lateral edges, the intersection of the lateral faces. These lateral edges are equal and parallel. From the word itself, edges. While lateral face defined as a face that is on its side instead of on its top or its bottom. For example, to this image, in a pentagonal prism, the lateral edges are the line segments that connected the vertical of the two pentagons that are the bases of the prism, while the lateral faces are the 5 rectangles that are formed by the lateral edges. Altitude or height. A segment with one endpoint in one of the bases, the other endpoint in the plane that contains the other base. So this is the perpendicular distance between the planes of the bases. It talks about the height of that certain shape of prism. Some examples of prism like this image. And also not examples of prism. But why? It is because, for example, to this shape. So this figure is identical parallel ends, but has a curved surface. That's why this is not a prism. Why? Because the ends are flat but the surface is curved. Remember the definition of prism, that a three-dimensional shape that has identical parallel ends and all that flat faces. The next is this figure. Look for the ends. They are both triangles. We can say that this is identical ends, but they are not parallel because the upper triangle is slightly tilted, so this figure is also not a prism. There are two types of prism, the oblique and the right prism. Right prism, whose lateral edges are perpendicular to its bases. Its lateral face. Right prism, whose lateral edges are perpendicular to its bases. Its lateral faces are rectangle. Also, right prism has its faces and joining edges perpendicular to the base faces. While oblique prism is a preset in which the joining edges and faces are not perpendicular to the base faces. And additionally, it has a parallelogram side faces. A right prism has its two flat ends perfectly aligned, while an oblique prism has its two flat ends tilted. If it's equally from all sides, we get prism, but if we do not project it equally, we do not get a prism.
Volume of the area and surface area.
The surface area of a prism is the total area of all of its faces, including the base and the lateral faces. The surface area is measured in square units such as cm squared and mm squared. For example, the cube. You can unwrap the paper to see the flat 2D surface that would have been needed to create the cube. The area of all flat faces, if this put together, it is what we call surface area. The volume of a prism is the area of the base multiplied by the height, or measures how much space a three-dimensional object can hold. The volume is measured in cube units such as cm cube and mm cube. Look for this example. Just imagine that you fill up the cube water. The amount of water this cube can hold would be limited to the volume of this cube. That's what we call the volume. So here's are the formula of volume of area and surface area. So we're going to solve this problem first. But first we're going to find the A. So A is equals square root 5 squared minus 3 squared is equals to 25 minus 9. So 25 minus 9 is equals to 16. So the square root of 16 is 4. So the answer is 4 cm. Now we're gonna use the formula of volume. V is equals to ABH. The area of the base is 1/2 BAH. So the result is 1/2 times 6, 4, and 8. The result is 96 cm cube. Lastly, the total surface area. The formula is TSA is equals to LA plus 2AB. So we're gonna add 5 plus 5 plus 6 times 8 is equals to 128. And then 2 1/2 times 6 and 4 is equals to 24. So if you add 128 plus 24, the result is 152 cm squared. So next is this problem. First, our height is 3 cm. The B, which is the area of prism, is 5 cm. And the length is 6 cm. So we're gonna find the formula of volume. So V is equals to ABH. So our height is 3, then the base of area is 5. So we're gonna multiply in order to get the answer. So the answer is 15 cm squared. So let's move on solving the height of prism. So our length was given. We're gonna multiply the volume and the length. So 15 times 6, the answer is 90 cm cube. Then lastly, the surface area. So the formula is 2 area of base plus perimeter of base times height of lateral face. So 2 is already given. Then the area of base is 15. So you're gonna multiply 2 times 15 is equals to 30. After that, you're gonna add the perimeter of base, which is 16. So how do I get the perimeter of base? So you're gonna add 3 plus 3 plus 5 plus 5 in order to get the answer 16 cm. Then after, 30 plus 16 times 6. So in the formula of surface area, we're gonna multiply the perimeter of base and the height of lateral face, which is the 16 and 6. So 16 times 6 is equals 96. Just copy the 30. After that, we're gonna sum up the 30 and 96. So 30 plus 96 is equals to 126 cm squared.